Merchants all require gold in the Bazaar, so the gap from the best to the worst isn't as big as the encounters, in terms of how likely I am to choose them. In this tier list, the merchants I usually take are at the top, and the ones I usually skip are at the bottom. If you only play one hero and one build all the time, you're probably going to disagree heavily with this list. These are for all builds and all heroes and how their power level is in a vacuum. Not necessarily middle is great because medium items are the best in this current meta right now. Starting it off with the best merchant I'm willing to choose, even if I have 0 gold because I'm willing to blow up my board, Zerfin's Safari. He is rare, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody skip him. I will still check him with 0 gold and plan on not re-rolling or buying anything, and be willing to sell off part of my board for something like Rigged or Rush that's only 5 gold. The power level on the monster skills is so varied that if I just get mediocre ones, I will still re-roll to see if I get a broken one. Just one monster skill can be the reason why you go 10 wins. I have him as a merchant and not an encounter because he doesn't offer anything for free and he allows you to reroll, unlike Lickit. Now on to why you float gold in this game. Grandmaster. Grandmaster is also the reason why you don't pick up bad skills throughout your run, especially bad monster skills, because Grandmaster can upgrade those too. He only shows 2 skills and you can't reroll, so your options are pretty limited. I've been getting 1 Grandmaster pull on average each run, but if it was any less, I would maybe consider taking the random skill from Lost Crate more. But as of now, you just need to check to see if you have skills that you want to upgrade, but you basically always go to them. Judging by the artwork, maybe this encounter/merchant is soon to change. Nufu. Yes, all 3 of the skill merchants are at the top. There is a significant amount of times I am forced to pass on Nufu. He shows up early and you need gold. Unfortunately, I don't think there are many bronze or silver skills that are worth selling off part of your board for. So Nufu will get skipped early, but late game you can't pass him up, and even paying the costly 6 gold for the reroll is worth it. I rarely am able to afford a diamond skill, but if a silver skill is a slightly lower power level, I will choose that for 10 gold instead of the 40 at diamond, just to save the 30 gold. Because with skills you can't sell it for half value later like you can items. However, taking skills that you want the gold or diamond version of later, because then you'll have to use one of your hours of getting skills on that upgrade. Okay, now to the best item merchant in the game, Saraphina. Saraphina used to only let you buy 1 item and then it would exit you from the shop because of how overpowered she is. She is ridiculously expensive. A large gold enchanted item is 48 gold. So you need to have money, but that's the same with most merchants in this game. Hopefully you high roll something good that helps you win, because often you do walk away with nothing and waste 8 gold on the reroll. But that's okay, enchanted items can be broken. Freya. I love freeze enchant, and being able to get a good item that comes with freeze is incredible. There aren't a lot of freeze items, so it's difficult for all the heroes to fill out her 6 slots. So enchanted items with freeze showing up in the shop is much more likely. Freya can win you your run, and she only costs 8 gold even though she's legendary. She is rare and fun, but I will admit, you often come away with nothing and she's expensive. But in general though, she shows up late, and freeze is great late game. So the normal freeze items are still good. Tox Clocks. Haste, slow, and cooldown items are really good late game, and he's not too expensive of a merchant, so he's viable in the mid game. But really, his existence just makes the haste and slow specific merchants worse off. And for some reason, he can't show up for Pig. Pole. Pole will be as strong as the large item pool is. You can't enchant an item to be large yet, so the pool he has is strict. If the day you're on doesn't offer any gold or diamond items, there might only be 7 choices at silver, which there is on ThomNLE, and Pole is awesome if you want one of those items. But if your build doesn't really want a large item, like you have Tiny Dancer or Noisy Cricket, then probably don't visit Pole. Kev's Armory. Kev offers some incredible enchantments, and the regular items that he offers are solid. That 4 gold reroll is for sure worth it on Kev. He comes early and often, and I'd much rather go to him than a vanilla merchant. If you're running a DPS build, he's probably a bad option, but for most builds, he's a good, fun option. Valpac. Valpac is the newest merchant, so obviously my opinion isn't as strong on him. The items he offers isn't great, and that 4 gold reroll isn't ideal, but he is great for the economy and the reason why you keep chocolate bars and gumballs until the PvP fight. Very similar to our next merchant, Barcoon. As a merchant, Barcoon is okay, but he buys your small items for +1 value. Monster rewards, loot items, and econ generation should be kept in your stash until you get to Barcoon. Because Barcoon showing up and you getting +5 gold is awesome, and he can improve your board all in a single hour. Late game, that little bit of extra gold isn't really worth it, but large items can sometimes be hard to find, so he offers a good selection. The reroll is a bit much for just plain items though. Prosparrow. Prosparrow is pig only, so I expect you to have some sort of economy benefiting item. Obviously for Crook build, Prosparrow is much worse, but for all late game centered pig builds, the economic items are great. Some are atrociously bad, but items like ATM are great just to cycle, and it's a medium property with a low cooldown, so it could be good for synergies. Buying it with just the intention to cycle can be really good on its own, but if you're able to make use of the item on your board, it's even better. And it's like that for a lot of items that he offers, with a wide variety of support and build-defining items. And he's the perfect merchant for pig. Late game though, he might not immediately impact your board, so he's probably going to be skipped. If there weren't so many duds in Prosparrow, he would be a lot higher. Curio gets his own tier because he is the most unique merchant. He offers a full board of items, so 10 slots total, which could be 2 mediums and 6 smalls. With the reroll, you'll see about 12 of the 45 bronze neutrals that exist. So without rerolling, it's not likely that you're going to get what you're looking for. Early game, he is so expensive, I'm not sure if I'm keeping my items, and I'm really trying to fill out my board, he usually gets skipped. But even still, Knee Brace is a great early game item, and Shadowed Cloak and Proboscis could be builds on their own. Curio also isn't lacking in outright usable items. Temporary Shelter Crusher Claw is a solid combo. Sunderer and Claw are decent weapons. And Icicle is a great late game item. But the real reason you're going to Curio is for the better loot items. He has the normal loot items like Feather and Insect Wing that are really strong, but Curio has a lot of items that are way better when you sell them. He has 2 slow improving items, Makeshift Barricade and Improved Bludgeon. The buff is super broken on an item like Clamora that might end up with slow 4 items for 3 seconds at the start of fight, which is an insane advantage past day 10. The burn and weapon buffs are worth the gold, but there are a lot of whiffs as well. But since you get to see so many items, it doesn't matter as much. If you want to cycle items like small items and you have Cove, then Curio's the best merchant in the game. In late game, since he can't offer gold and silver versions of items, he's relatively cheap. Overall, the playstyle with Curio is much different than the other merchants. Early game, I usually think he's bad. In the mid game, I'll kind of go if I want a slow buff. In late game, I'll take any stat increase, so just the chance at a Feather or Insect Wing is worth the Curio trip. And if you're Northern Lion, you always go because he has the cloak. The cheapest merchant is Andy. I love going to Andy day 1. Bronze small items only cost 2 gold and sell for 1. You can almost just buy them out and reroll and buy them out again, just to keep a bunch of items in your stash, and then wait until you get more later and decide if the synergies match up, rather than having to make that decision in the shop, like most merchants. Aaliyah. Aaliyah is good if you want weapons, not so good if you don't. But the fact that she shows up on day 1 means you shouldn't really know what your build is going for yet. Middle. Middle is great when your hero has great medium items. Pretty basic though. Kina. You would think having a weapon build means that you don't want non-weapon items, but sometimes you just want support items for your weapons. And those can't come from Aaliyah or Colt. JJ. All these merchants in this tier have a huge pool of items, so their power level is pretty consistent between heroes and builds. None have a bigger pool than JJ though. JJ is great because sometimes he'll offer you an item that you weren't even thinking of, and you know for sure that he at least could offer the item that you're going for. The bronze tier merchants have a reroll cost of 2, which at the beginning of closed beta, it used to cost 3 for all merchants. So rerolling on these merchants is at an extreme discount. The existence of these merchants, while not great on their own, makes me want to pass up the more expensive reroll options later, like Midworth. Midworth is just a worse version of Barcoon. It's not too often that you have a medium item that you want to sell. and the small items that he offers are easy to come by. And sometimes I reroll and I will see 0 larges. His 4 gold reroll cost is too expensive for the early game, but he's fine if you can make him work. Quixel. I've only sold a large item to Quixel once. Maybe it has its place, but it's so rare that I actually just have a large item I want to sell. Usually, I'll keep a large item until I need more stash space and then sell the large item to create room for smalls. And in the actual shop, Quixel only offers you small and medium items, so I'm not going to need to make a bunch of stash space for the items I want to buy from her. I just think that this is a bad version of other merchants, and I look for other ones. Sylvia. Sylvia can be great early when you're looking for an item that starts at silver tier. Other than that though, the 4 gold reroll cost is so expensive, and items costing 4, 8, and 12 gold means early you can't buy more than one. Sylvia is an expensive merchant in the early game, a basic merchant in the mid game, and I don't even know if she shows up in the late game. Orion. Orion has a crazy expensive reroll, but he has his place. Each hero has around 12 tools available, and sometimes you won't be able to see the gold or diamond tier ones, so it's really more like 6 to 7 tools per hero. And an item can't become enchanted to become a tool, so with this relatively small pool, if you know of a tool that could be useful, he's great because you're gonna get it. But if you aren't really sure what you're looking for, he is way too expensive to reroll. But maybe you can just check the first one because the pool is so small. On to the much more polarizing merchants, Mr. Morland. He is pig only, so properties have more synergies, but properties are large and expensive. There aren't a lot of properties, and you can't get a property enchantment, so he only offers 3 bronze items, so if you want ATM, Fixer Upper, or Money Tree, they'll consistently be there. But there are so many whiffs. And when playing a crook build, Mr. Morland isn't good at all. And if you don't have any properties that fit your build, like the only useful item is ATM. Lemonade stand and pawn shop could be build defining, but Mr. Morland is really expensive, and so he often just gets skipped, even if his power level is relatively high. I could see Mr. Morland going up to as high as 9 on this list in a richer patch. But since the PvE gold reward got lowered a few patches ago, affording any property can be a struggle, and you kind of almost have to have an econ item you've been building up and are willing to sell in order to have enough gold to buy multiple things from Mr. Morland. Nautica. If you have aquatics, great. If you have ammo weapon build Vanessa, probably not so good. If you're a 1 weapon build, it's like okay. Overall, there's just too many times I don't want aquatics, and it's just a dead merchant. And most of the time, I don't have enough gold to buy out the whole shop for all the aquatic synergy it offers, so Nautica's fine, but don't be telling me that she's the best merchant on Vanessa because you can get flagship and crow's nest all in one go. Tinker. Tinker is dually only. If you want friends, good. If you don't want any, it's okay. If you have an item like Pulse Rifle with 1 first aid, you probably shouldn't visit Tinker. Herma. If you're playing Crook build, you ignore her. Matchbox, she's like okay. And with a tent build, she's the best. Colt. And Colt is the last build-specific merchant in the game right now, with the good, the bad, and the ugly, depending on what your board looks like. These merchants are bad because I usually don't have an excess of gold, and I'd rather just go to a basic merchant, rather than this hyper-specific vendor that may or may not synergize with my board. Arrow. Arrow used to be on Vanessa, but now it's soon to be on Stel, the engineer hero. Arrow was terrible on Vanessa unless you wanted a vehicle, but the big problem is that there weren't enough vehicles to fill out the 6 slots. And with no vehicle enchant, you could spend the gold on the reroll and see 1 more item. If vehicles were better, he'd be way higher. Lux. Lux is the best of the merchants I don't want to reroll on. Immediately getting the diamond version of an item makes the power level worthy of filling right into a day 10 plus board, versus a silver item that got some ancillary cooldown reduction and buffs. But even just a small item costs 16 gold, and a large is 48. A medium enchanted item is 64, so it's rare that you would even be able to afford that shiny Pierre conditioner. Kronos. Kronos is too expensive. The foot fetish guy and the other diamond merchants cost 8 gold to reroll. An enchanted haste item is great, but in the late game you really should have figured out your board. And I'm only going to Kronos if I know I need some haste. But it's still expensive to buy one of these enchanted hasted items anyway. It's different on Pig where Jabalian Drum is the only natural haste item, so you basically get 5 haste enchants to choose from. The Frozen Assets expansion would make it 3. Cobweb. If you have a slow build, Cobweb is the best merchant in the game. But I rarely have a slow build, and I would much rather just have a merchant that costs 2 gold to reroll. The enchanted items are great, but expensive. And in order to go to Cobweb and buy an item, you essentially have to pass up a later hour where you could visit a merchant, and you'll have to go to an encounter or take a free event, because when you previously went to Cobweb, you spent so much gold. And again, Pig only has 2, so he's better. Hef. Even if I have a burn build, I'm kind of just hoping Hef upgrades one of my items. Again, too expensive, and there are enough items to fill out the rerolls, even on Pig with the frozen assets. Nightshade. Nightshade is the same as Hef, but slightly worse. And once again, some of the enchantments can be good, but he's too expensive to consistently go to. Pig literally has 0 poison items, so he will offer enchants. And the worst merchant in the game is Goldie. Large items cost 24 gold. Medium items cost 16, and the reroll is 6 gold. It's still difficult to get an item from gold to diamond. If there's an item that you know that you want that only starts on gold tier, then maybe Goldie can be viable. But he's here at the bottom because he shows up in the mid game, and he costs way too much gold for you to afford anything. And in the late game, your board should be good enough to not just be able to plop some random gold item and have it be better. So it's rare that I have both a lot of money and want to only use it on building my board. If you look at this list from top to bottom, the difference between the second best merchant and Goldie here at the bottom isn't really that big. Choosing a merchant is usually based on how much gold I have, what the events or encounters are offered, and what my board looks like. It's not really the power level of the merchant that's influencing my decision. I'm sure stuff will change around in the future, so hopefully I didn't get too much stuff wrong. And comment below where you would rank them, and subscribe for more videos.